He said, "What is your cost per customer acquisition?" And I thought, well, that's actually not only a good question, but that one's pretty easy if you've actually done the homework on it. And the irony was she answered the question with the same number she'd answered only a few minutes before when they asked, "What is your cost of goods sold?" Now, they didn't ask it that way. They asked, "Well, what does it cost you to take a product to your client?" And she gave him a set number. And then they asked, "Well, what do you sell them for?" And she gave them a set number. And then they asked, "Well, what does it cost you to acquire a new client?" And she gave them a set number. And if you put all those numbers together, she's actually losing money on every product that she sells. And the reality is that the question, "What is your cost per customer acquisition?" was not a question she'd ever been asked before. It wasn't a piece of homework she'd ever done. It was not an answer she knew. I'm J Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast. How often do we as leaders find ourselves in a place where the questions being asked of us we simply don't know the answer to? We don't know because, well, we never really thought of it that way, or we never really thought of it at all, or the team around us may have the answer to that question but hadn't been important to us. Market trends, changes in the societal purchase habits, things of that nature. I love watching Shark Tank because you get these brilliant, experienced insiders asking questions that other people haven't pondered. An example was one of the ones, and this was a way back show. It's been years ago, but we were watching it last night. And the guy sells these big, giant animal house shoes. And as we all know, when you go to Walmart, there are displays of various things that are for sale. And the challenge with his big, giant house shoes is that each pair of house shoes takes up the same amount of space on the shelf that, say, 5 pairs of shoes would. So if Walmart says this 10 feet worth of shelf space, 5 feet high, is worth, $10,000 a month based on the number of shoes we can display and sell from that spot, the minute you put these giant fluffy house shoes in that space, you cut that retail allowance from 10,000 to 2,500 because you can only put 1/4 as many shoes. However, this guy who was looking for an investor made $6 million over the last 3 years selling these house shoes online. That's pretty incredible business. So would you say, I don't want to be in business like that because the big retailers, Walmart and Toys R Us and the others, well, Toys R Us is not anymore because they're gone. But other places where you would buy fuzzy house slippers, maybe a TJ Maxx or Target, but would you still want to go in business with a guy selling these fuzzy slippers if none of the retail stores are going to carry them because it takes up too much space? That's a question you have to ask yourself if you're the shark. It's also the question you should be asking yourself if you're in business. If you're an entrepreneur and you're leading your organization and you see that everybody in the world is doing messaging on their phones with their thumbs and everybody in the world has a device that allows them to connect anywhere in the world, and everybody in the world is communicating that way, maybe you want to jump on that bandwagon. But then instantly you realize there are a whole lot of players in that marketplace who spent billions of dollars developing their technology. How will you compete with that? Well, you've got to come up with something unique and individual. How then will you also compete when the people on your team are not as educated as their team, meaning they haven't studied the same things, they don't have the same degrees, they're just nice people that you like? See, the challenge of leadership isn't just building a team of people that you like, or as Jim Collins said, getting everybody on the bus, because getting everybody on the bus and getting them in the right seat, to me, doesn't make any sense. There's only one driver. Who cares what seat everybody else is on? They're just passengers anyway. In order for us to lead effectively, we've got to be well informed about our business, about the marketplace, about the people on our team, about how they're going to be involved and how they're going to contribute and what will they mean to the bottom line, what will they invest in our organization, and what do they expect us to invest in them from a staff development standpoint, from a leadership standpoint. Leaders should be not just the passionate entrepreneur driving the organization. Leaders should not just be the greatest HR person who's bringing together a team of people they like, but leaders should be well informed on every front, in the marketplace, in the mindset of your employees, in the product launch and the entire sequence. You should be well informed to understand. That doesn't mean you have to do it all. does mean that you should at least understand it enough to know that the person you put in that place knows what they're doing. Don't lead with the ambiguity of saying, well, I feel great about this. I think it will work. And a few yes people around you to encourage you that it will. Lead with the right information. Do your homework. Look deep into it. Look at all your competitors, your marketplace, societal changes, and all those other factors before you invest or ask someone else to in what you're doing, emotionally or financially. I'm J Loren Norris for Leading Leaders Podcast. Have a blessed day.